At what stage of the teacher's teaching, does enlightenment come? Can you explain more about enlightenment?
The final goal of the teachings of the Buddha is that to solve the problem of death. How can it be that we will never have to die again? That is the problem that as a Buddhist we want to solve. This death would be our last. When we die, we will not have to be born again. To be born is to attain aging, suffering, and death. This is a cycle of birth, aging, and death. How do we end it? That's the final goal. So first of all, we need to understand what is us. Who are we? What is self? Maybe. Yeah. The Buddha defines us or self as 5 components. First is the form, the physicality of form. Second is feeling. It's an abstraction, but you understand them, you experience them. The feeling of pleasure or displeasure, or neither pleasure nor pleasure or displeasure. Everyone knows this feeling. Everyone has experienced pleasure. Everyone has experienced displeasure. This is what constitutes to being us, the second component. When we experience happiness, we say we are happy. When we feel sad, when we experience the feeling of sadness, we say we feel sad. We experience something. The third component is called perception. When you could recognize something, when you remember something, when you have memory, everyone has experienced this. Everyone can remember, everyone has recognition. The fourth one is a bit technical. It's called volitional formation, or when you formulate something. When you formulate a plan, when you think that you're going to do this in the future, you're going to go on vacation, you're going to go on job or something. That's when you formulate a plan. That's called volitional formations. And the fifth or the last one is technically it's called consciousness. It is when it knows something. When it experiences or it knows something, it's called consciousness or vijnana. So these are the 5 natural elements that make us think that is ours. Us or ourself or who we are actually consists of these 5 natural elements. So the Buddha says that we or I or self is not actually just a physical form, but also it consists of abstractions, something that is intangible. 4 of them: feeling, perception, volitional formations, and also consciousness. These 5 elements constitute to be we or I or who we are. So the Buddha explains further that how does these 5 elements work? How do they work? So the 5 elements or aggregates, they work in a way that the consciousness of the mind would be dwelling or resting or establishing on other 4 aggregates or other 4 elements. So the Buddha calls these 4 elements as the establishment of the mind or the establishment of the consciousness. So we can prove this by yourself when you meditate just now, 3 minutes ago. How do these elements work together? When we say that, okay, let's know your breath, is the mind or the consciousness that's resting on the form of the breath. Yeah. But when you know your breath, you begin to start to think of other things. Your mind starts to wander off to the past, the future, the other kind of feelings. So what happens was that the mind would change from establishing on the form to establish on other aggregates. Maybe feeling, maybe you think about the past, maybe you formulate about the future. That's how it's the mind is dwelling or establishing on 4 other aggregates. And you can prove that by meditation. That's why when you meditate, you start to feeling this and that and those and so on. That's when you begin to see how your body and your mind works. So when, let's say, when your body dies, when you die, your body disintegrates, it decomposes. But because there's clinging, feeling of clinging, the mind is clinging on to these four aggregates. So when if the form of the body has died, the mind will grab on or will dwell on the rest of the four aggregates naturally. So when your body decomposes or disintegrates, the mind will grab on to these three other aggregates, whether feeling, perception, or volitional formation. By grabbing on, by establishing on them, it will attain or acquire a new entity through establishing of the mind. That's when new birth or rebirth has taken place. The process of rebirth has taken place all the time, but we don't. But because the body still functions, we might say that okay, it still does. But actually, the process of rebirth is happening all the time with the mind. It's grabbing onto three other aggregates. So let's say when the body dies, when the body decomposes, you can understand now that the process of rebirth has taken place. When birth has taken place, what comes will be aging, suffering, and death. This cycle of birth, aging, suffering, and death will continue for eternity. Yes. But the Buddha actually renounces these five aggregates. He says that it's not yours, it's not who you are, it doesn't belong to you. He refuses to, through his teaching, he says, it is not yours, these five aggregates. What you think is yours, the Buddha says, no, it's not. These five aggregates are called, it's called, I will try to frame it very precisely, things that can be formulated. Form, perception, feeling, volitional formations, and consciousness are the elements that can be formulated, can be, it will be, it is called sankata dhatu. Sankata means can be formulated. This sankata dhat is not ours. It doesn't belong to us. We are actually what the Buddha has called asankata dhat, or something that cannot be formulated. Yeah. So the question is, how can we let go of one side, that is, of the five aggregates of the things that be formulated, and attain a condition of what the Buddha has called deathless. It means no more death, deathless. It's a condition that can be attained by letting go of these five aggregates. Yeah. The Buddha said that this condition is originally, I wouldn't say belong, but it's actually our original condition. It is our original condition. But because of what the Buddha has called ignorance or unknowing, or being not knowing the truth, we begin to grab on or cling on to these five aggregates and think that they are ours. And these five aggregates, they would disintegrate. They will not last. They are temporary. Even if you think that your life is yours, your body is yours, your happiness or your whatever is yours, but for the next maybe after 60 or 70 years, you die anyway. You cannot attain them eternally. At one point, everyone has to die. Yeah. So the teachings of the Buddha is essentially to allow us to understand truth, to understand to have the right knowledge, to have the right wisdom, that and accepts the truth that everything is impermanent. We are moving towards death, and how can we escape from this cycle? And this condition which death no longer appears can be attained by letting go of what we have thought as ours.